Here we're getting it so that we can pour the percrete, and that little crack along there, we're putting like basically 3 inches along this side, that side. The front only has 2 inches because we want to have enough cook surface for Jody to be able to, and me to be able to use that for the oven, or the cook stove top. And then so you can see back in here there's a gap, and back there in the gap. So we're trying to insulate it so that we don't heat this whole back porch, because we're not trying to heat the porch, we're trying to heat the house. And underneath there, L channel welded across there to make it even sturdier for when the heat's hitting that. So with this L channel and an L channel that's underneath there, it should be really strong, so that when for wanting to warp or anything, because you can see the thickness of our metal. It's probably about almost a 1/4 inch, like 5/16. This is how we get architectural details inside of the. Then you see these, those old molding things, because we do contracting. All that stuff will add to the percrete, will add architectural style and detail to it. Oh boy, you can't get good help nowadays. Look at my weld there. It snapped off. This thing is designed so that this whole face frame, it's a 4 bolts, comes right off. So you can service it. You see where it goes through these holes, and right there. Bolts along here too. So there's like just 6 bolts. 6 bolts and you've got the whole unit. This here, if it was wetter, the mud would have came down and to the base better. It had to flow from the form down in. Okay, here's some changes. We put this door on, like a nut on the inside, and then a big flat fender washer. There's the homemade grate, and there's the homemade stainless steel ashtray. You see how we did that? We first made it out of a piece of cardboard, and we cut a piece of cardboard that fit exactly the shape we wanted. Because we didn't oil our forms, because we're rushing around, you know, we have a contracting company and we're trying to get a retirement business around with some vacation rentals here at the farm, so we're working on them all the time. So, well, anyways, we don't have a whole lot of time to do this stove, so we didn't oil the plywood forms, and as I showed, it didn't come out that good. But so what we did is we took sand in equal proportion with Portland, and then about a half a part of lime in that proportion, and then we put a little bit of green dye, concrete dye in it, and we patched up pretty much all of our goober mistake. once the fire's out and the hot coals are gone, you don't want to heat the atmosphere. Then you close this up. Notice how this counterweight is. It's always going back. It always wants to be up. You have to really work hard and strap it down. Because if you got carbon monoxide poison, you'd be like Rip Van Winkle, but you would never wake up. Once the fire and the coals are out, you close the upper lid on the chimney, and also you close this. By not letting the heat escape up the chimney and heat the atmosphere, you dramatically increase your efficiency of your stove. From Amazon, gasket for wood stoves. Jody's just putting it on. See, what's really nice is it's a little stick on, and it's 3M. I'll be darned, there's another wood stove.
What?
I'm just filming. I'll be darned, there's another wood stove here. We have a film on this too. This is
where are you at? What are you saying?
right here, I'm filming.
Oh.
This is an Amish cook stove, and what we did is put another steel plate on it, some support legs, because it had to hold 700 fire brick. And this is a Russian masonry chimney. This worked great, but the only problem is our cat has asthma, and there's the cat, Runt, the Runt. And Runt has asthma problems, so that's why we're putting the Boss boiler out on the porch. This one, as you can see, we had clean outdoors that we made, and it works wonderful. This is like 1.5 quarts a year, firewood a year, most of that softwood, 1.5 quarts of softwood mainly, and that would heat a 3,000 square foot house. This is where the line's going in, the cold line that goes into the Boss boiler. As you can see, there's a swing check valve. You don't use a spring loaded, because that won't work. You have to use a swing one-way valve, check valve. Then when it comes out, it's very important to have two pressure temperature blowouts, because what if one would malfunction? So that's why I put two there. Now this is an expansion tank, and this is a little drain valve, so we can kind of drain things. Here's another thing. This is on its own separate baseboard. Here's the little check valve, and that's the copper tubing that we showed with ice in it that we wrapped around that stainless steel pipe. Now it still needs to get insulated. We just want to make sure when we put water in there, there's no leaks. The most important thing with this stove is, and I can't stress it enough, is the boiler, the Boss boiler. You most definitely should use rainwater or distilled water in it, because once we put that boiler tank in there, which was an old propane tank that we welded a stem on, which we showed, once that's in there, there's a steel plate on top, and I can cut a hole through that metal there and put a pulley system and pull that tank straight up, but I really don't want to ever have to do that. So that's why you don't want to have any hard water deposits forming in your lines or in your tank. Here's the manifold for the hot. There's 3 zones, and the one zone is just for running the hot water for showers, and sinks. And here's the returns coming back into the system. Very simple. We put valves on everything, and then for bleeding it, it's very important to have a bleeder ability, and that's what that valve is. So you can open up one zone at a time. Open, say, that valve to clear that zone, and open this valve to get heat, hot water going into that zone, and run into a bucket until you don't see any bubbles coming out, and then shut that zone off and then go to the next one. Here's the one of the two 14-inch by 14-inch water-to-air heat exchangers. We also have baseboard right there, so we have like 3 baseboards too that we use. And there's another one on the wall. That one right there just does the chimney. On this little porch, it's only about 6 feet wide, so we had to squeeze everything in. Here's the original. There's one of the original, my neighbor gave me this. He was in this barn in the way, so he couldn't get his tractor in. Coal stove, but we converted it to wood, and we can heat water too. Then there's our batch box rocket stove, almost completed. Now here is an electric GE 1940s oven that's converted to run on 24 volt DC from the sun, and we're going to be building 2 windmills. So this is the future right here. And then also here's 3 biogas that you can run off. We run off kitchen scraps and grass clippings. Now let's head out to the biogas tank. Here's the purification right here. All this will be covered in the film that's coming. There's the bag that captures the gas. Of course, it's winter time, there's no gas in it. It's capable of chewing up the grass clippings, so I can mow and throw it right in there, and that's the bulk of the energy I get from grass clippings, and that's an enormous amount of energy you can get from grass clippings. But you have to use a grinder pump. The grinder pump is down in here. On the first fire up too, the glass broke. I had these too tight. I'm trying to tell you the mistakes I'm making. I know other people won't want they won't want to show that they weren't perfect on stuff. So I'm showing you that I'm making mistakes, but I'm honest enough to show you how I'm trying to correct from those mistakes. Okay, this is the final. Now, are you ready for some juicy gossip? I'm going to tell you some of the mistakes I made. That way anybody that has low self-esteem, they can feel better about themselves, and they can consider that they're considerably smarter than me. Alright, so I didn't want to use any pumps on this, and I used thermal gravity siphon. One could have used a pump on it. If you used a pump on it, then of course you can move more with the proper size pump. You can move an awful lot of hot water. Now, coming out of the stove, I made a mistake. I went 3/4 inch going into the propane tank and 3/4 inch coming out. If that was 1 inch, it would have been on both the inlet and the outlet. It would have moved more hot water for the thermal gravity siphon effect, and that would have been a good thing. I suggest that you consider that. See, here I'm coming into my manifold with a 3/4 inch. This would have been better if it was 1 inch in here, and then 3/4 coming off with each of those. In addition, we added these 2 cast iron radiators. Upon hindsight, I wish I would have had 4 of these cast iron radiators. It would have only been like $300 more. The beauty of the cast iron is when you're rocking that Batchbots rocket stove, it can absorb an awful lot of heat if you had 4 of these baseboards. What I had ended up doing is having only 2 of them, and I had 2 water-to-air exchangers. So I would have just not had the water-to-air exchangers. I would have been much better using 4 cast iron radiators. What I'm doing is I'm telling you my mistakes. I could have omitted, not told you any of them, but my sin of omission would have been if you decide to build yourself a Boss boiler batch rocket stove, you would have ended up following potentially my lead and making mistakes, and I wouldn't want to see you have to go through the disappointment on that. So I'm trying to save you I'm trying to save you the disappointment and being honest about where I made my mistakes. Another addition I put in is a Y-trap. See that right there? That Y-trap is good because you can keep all the particles and stuff out of the whole system. And I advise when you put a Y-trap in to take the cap off and put anti-seize on it. Okay, another mistake that I made is I went with PEX B. I should have went coming out of this manifold. All these pipes, at least for a way, should have been PEX A. PEX A goes up to 200 Fahrenheit and it's good up to 500 PSI. So we'll see what happens. If I have to, I might have to take out, I don't know, like 5 feet of these and put the PEX A in. So far so good, but you know, it's a lot of heat coming out of that stove. And so that's going to be something I'm going to have to keep an eye on, and I might have to upgrade that. I put this pump in. It's a really good pump. It's good for 30,000 hours, and it only costs like $90. And I have it designed so that even if the pump isn't pumping, there's 2 parallel lines there, and so no matter what, even if the pump's not pumping, there's water still going to be circulating. And it's working really great. And then what I did is I put these, because that pump can run from 6 to 24 volts. Right now I have it running at 15. So this little gadget allows me to adjust the voltage level that I want to get that pump speed exactly the way I want. And then this temperature controller, I have it set when it turns on and off. Right now it's at let's see, right here. At 45 it turns on, and at 40 it turns off. So this gives me a lot of control over when this thing's really roaring in here, then I can have this designed so this pump can really unload a lot of heat into the house. And then the pump can shut off. It's still gravity thermal siphons in most of the night. So we're finding like the rooms that we have our heating system zoned to are staying fine. I can't overheat this. I can throw hardwood and let it burn hot, really hot, one fire after the other, and that pump keeps up with it, so that there's no danger of having it kick out with these 2 blowouts. We can decide where we want to put the heat, where we're living at that moment, like and the cast iron radiators are the best way to go. I ended up using those little ones, and I put the fans in, air to air, whatever, water exchangers, and they're cool. They turn on, but they give you really fast heat. And what I like the idea of the cast iron, which you can buy from Amazon, the cast iron ones are, they heat up and there's like thermal mass to them, so it takes a long time for them to cool down, and that's what really works good to stabilize your temperature. Right there, like that cast iron. I would have put 4 of those in, and that would have been probably the perfect system. Further refinements on the Boss Batchbox rocket stove. Got these from the scrap metal place. They had the sides on them here, so I took an angle grinder and cut that down. I'm leaving this front lip so it holds the wood in. I'm going to put these in. It's too porous. All the wood has it where charcoal sized pieces fall down into the ash pan. So I already broke 3 of those glasses and It's because you have to really keep it loose. You can't have it snug on here or you'll break the glass every time. On either side of the glass you have to have this wood stove rope, you know, and you use gasket cement and you put that on. It's on this side too. So the glass has that on either side of it to slip as a slip plane. I have it so there's a little lip at the front so logs don't come out. Gotta make sure that you can take your hand and you can feel a little bit of movement there, see? A little bit of movement. Don't do what I did and break 3 of them in a row. Okay, this is going to be the test of this as a rocket stove component. Right now, the Boss Batchbox boiler, the sensors, it's not really recording what's inside the boiler right now. It's what transfers up and out to that 3/4 inch pipe, but anyways, it's at 13 Celsius. Oops, open the chimney. Okay, we're at 10:56. It's starting to climb. 17, 17.2, 3. Here's the roar of it. 15 minutes. Then we're at 42.5. Now this will turn on at 45 and the pump will start pumping, so there we go. We're on. Pump's working, 17.54. These here, these little controllers can be 110. So they can be 12 volt, 24 volt, or 110 AC volt. And that pump that little pump is, with mine I picked a 12 volt, but with that company that has awesome array of good pumps, you can get a whatever voltage you're working with, 24 volt, 12 volt DC, or 120 volt AC. The 48, we'll see what we get up to, but so far what I've discovered, this pump will keep up with it. That before, when I would burn like a rocket stove like this, if I burnt 2 loads in a row, that I'd have to run bath water and take 2 baths or whatever and get some of the pressure off of it. Otherwise these valves, I have 2 safety valves, one of them would pop. But now with the pump, I've never popped yet any of those safety valves, so the pump all keeps up with it no matter how much I push this stove. And I just wanted to show that it's clean burn. Perfectly blue skies and you don't see any smoke. I've been burning this for almost a couple months and you don't see any like creosote build on the outside of that chimney. 52.2. 27 minutes. And this is what the fire's crank. It's still going along strong. Yeah, it's strong enough. But it's a very useful stove, cooking breakfast, and right there, it's legit. Right there proves it. It's legit. The stove was a complete success for the household, and I hope other people consider doing it. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great day. And so long. And I almost forgot. Subscribe or else.